Stuart, are you back?
Okay, I may be not having the right device.
So let's go ahead and get started. First, I'm going to halfway introduce everybody on the screen. First, I'm going to introduce the most important person of this meeting, and that's Miss Judy Whiteside. Her call sign is N5TW-XYL.
Special call sign.
Completely invented.
Anyway, she's the driver behind the Info Depot. I guess she did programming for a living back when she was a youngster. And she's quite good at it and has never failed to fix something that goes wrong. And second place in the honored guest is our section manager, Stuart Wolf. I don't know if I don't know what he does. What do you do for a living, Stuart?
Work for DPS headquarters in Austin. We do the criminal records histories up there and all the handgun licenses and sex offender paperwork.
All right. We have our Harris County emergency coordinators. We have two of them. I don't see nobody's waiting in the room. Downing's not here, and Russell Richter is not here. But everyone else on this screen is either an AEC or an EC. I think that's about right. Anyway, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to, has everyone accessed the files or opened up the files that I sent you that has the new form 4A? The old form was form 4, which I show at the District 14 meetings, and in which the our current automatic reporting is that Judy has built is based on. But she is working in the background to, I guess, transfer some of the stuff over to what they're wanting now. Why they want to change what the driver is behind that, I don't know. But they have mandated that we change to this new system. I was part of the beta testing for this. Sent in a couple of old reports. And then and actually sent them to Lee Cooper. He was part of that committee, and sent them in and commented on each one of the boxes. And of course, there's one box box number 18 is completely useless. Originally, they had said that they were only interested in the DEC stuff, and I said no. The building block is the EC, not the DEC. And so they did change that to include the ECs. And I don't know if they had any reservations about that or what, but anyway, they got it fixed. And another thing that they have done is they have broken out things that we used to lump into one category into multiple categories. So you may end up with the same data, but they want it better defined for whatever crazy reason. Let's dive right in and talk about box number 1. That will be, that is automatically in my report. Of course, this is my report. And what Judy has to do in the background is she has to build this same thing that mirrors it and then piles all of the data. And if I say anything that's not right, Judy, just say, he's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
No. Yeah, it starts with the EC, the monthly report that the ECs and everybody submit, and I call that information and build up your information. So
okay,
I'm pressing along getting those changes made.
Box number 2. Of course, on talking about the form that I fill out, the section is not choosable. It's already filled out for me. And where on the original form it was a PDF, and you typed in whatever you want. And then the drop down box to select the month and the year, you can actually go in there and select the current month, or you can go back. I don't know. I think maybe 3 months, and never forward. So if you submit a report after you've submitted a report, I assume that it overwrites what you wrote before. That's the way it is in the Info Depot. If Jimmy Wells submits a report on the 2nd, and then, oh, I forgot something, or I mistyped something, you can submit it again. It'll overwrite automatically whatever you've already done. And look at Lee getting overzealous. Good job, Lee. Let's see here. Total number of Aries members. So Judy, tell us what you're going to do on that. This is going to be brand new.
Total number of members, I'm going to just look in the database and count all the people that are approved and not inactive and give you that number. So that will be all members that are approved and not active and not inactive. And that's possibly different than what the summation is on the monthly report, because perhaps someone didn't submit a monthly report for a certain county or something, and you would lose those numbers. But this will be whatever's in the database. So I will be pulling from who's ever registered in the depot system.
Okay. So some background on that is with each one of the ECs submits a report, and we have approximately 60 counties with ECs. Then all of their numbers would be compiled, and then I, as the SEC, would put in a fictitious number to bring it up to the approximately 1,590 members that we have in the database now. And where that number used to get skewed was that if a DEC, who in our system, the Info Depot, the DEC has 0 members. If the DEC for Harris County were to mirror the report of his 4 ECs, then that would actually double the number of members in Harris County. So we can't do that. And Judy's system was I couldn't put in a negative number. I couldn't put in negative members. It couldn't be greater than the or it could be anything. It didn't have to equal her number. It never did that test. So she's going to automatically put in the number of whatever time frame that she captures, at what date, whatever date that she captures. So if there are 500 inactive members, which I think is what the account is now, it's right around 500, then we would drop down to, on our very first report, approximately 1,100 members. Is that right, Judy?
Yes, I think right now, I'm not sure what the exact number is, but it's, let's see. Again. Okay, right now it's going to be 1,659.
Okay. And we have right around 500 inactive.
Inactive, 501.
Yep. So that number that we report will drop by a third on our very first official report. Now, they haven't said when we have to officially start doing this. Of course, there's a lot of feedback on the SEC group. They don't like doing this at all. But that's the way it always goes. And of course, you only hear from the loudest people. You don't hear from everybody. Let's see here. So that's box number 3. Judy will populate that for us. The number of DECs and ECs reporting this month. So what I have to do on that is I have to, Judy populates the call signs, and then I can look at call signs and maybe not remember their name, but I know who's a DEC and who's an EC just by looking at their call sign, but I may forget their name. So I can, on average, we have 4 to 6 DECs that do a report out of 14. We have 14 DECs. So 4 to 6 of them do a report. The rest of them don't do anything. We have, and then of the ECs, we have approximately 28 of the ECs, approximately 25 of the ECs that send a report out of, I believe that there are somewhere around 60 possible reports. There are 97 counties, but only 60 of the counties have an EC representing them. And we have one guy that's an EC. Go ahead, Stuart.
You got a question on you here for number 4 and number 3. If Judy gives us the total count on number 3, of all of the Aries members, and that's based off of what the EC reports. If next month, let's just say the EC from Milam, which is Mike there, doesn't report in, is that going to be a discrepancy from one month to the next when we do the reporting?
You want to answer that, Judy? You understand what he's saying?
I think so. The numbers the number 4 is counting the DECs and ECs. So those are officers that are reporting. And so that's the number of people who submitted a report. And the total number of Aries members is any member, like a person that is not an officer, any member at all.
Right,
So,
but at the end of your sentence there on number 3 there, Jeff, you put this figure is derived from the EC reports that are received this month. Is that different than what you're going to be pulling there, Judy?
Yes. What Jeff said is what used to happen, and it was always not quite a good number that he had to fix. I'm going to do the fixing for him. I'm going to just go straight and pull the number, and
Gotcha.
I will skip over the information reported in the monthly report. They can still report it, and I can still retrieve it if we need to do any tallying for some other purpose. It's in there in the database, but that's not what I'm going to put on the Form 4.
Gotcha. Okay.
And another thing about that, remember that the instructions for using the form were written by the league. They were not written by me. So the whole country gets the same instruction. And you'll see that that sentence, this figure is derived from the EC reports received this month, all the way through these instructions.
And most of that data will be true. It is derived from the EC reports. That number 3 is the one that I compute. And then the number of DECs reporting, that's not on the monthly report. That's a meta figure, because I have to go look after the fact. But all the other counts, total numbers of stuff will come from the EC report, from the reports, the monthly reports.
So
I got a question. You can't get the number of DECs and ECs by who turns in a report on STX Depot?
I'm sorry?
You're saying the number of DECs and ECs you are doing after the fact, but we're all turning in a report on the STX Depot.
Right.
So
we all are not.
Okay.
That's right. Not everybody is reporting.
Okay, so the number of total is fairly fixed, but you ought to be able month to month to see who's turned in a report.
Yes. And that's what's on here. And there are other reports the depot can tell you that for, tell you more detailed information on that.
So she has a screen that I can go to, and I can look and see how many ECs are in it, how many ECs are possible in the county, how many ECs are actually in the county, and how many people reported for the last 12 months. And I think I can pick any time frame.
Yeah.
And if the DEC filed their report, then the report number is in bold. And so you could tell by the district if their district number is in bold, the DEC filed a report. Even if their report said I have no report, that's the report they filed. So yeah, we have that capability, but not everybody reports for whatever reason. And some are erratic at reporting. Some people will be the EC for 2 or 3 counties, and they'll put all their report in one county and just refer county A to county B, and that's where all the reporting does, because that's the way their members are. It's everything all over the map.
Okay, so another question. If I'm making a big if here, a big assumption. If the database was up to date, and that's not Judy's fault, we should be able to do a scan through the database and find out how many ECs you got each county, how many DECs you got each, because
we have that. We do that.
Yeah, we have that information in the database.
I have a report for Jeff that tells him that stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a list a mile long of reports that I can do.
Okay.
So any other discussion on the number of DEs or on number 4 before we go to number 5? So okay, so number 5, Judy, is this a number that you want to automatically populate? Or do you want me to do it?
No, that one is, I'm gonna populate that. I'm gonna
Okay,
give you everything in this page. I've been doing that today, and I can fill out this whole form for you.
okay. Isn't this easy?
My brain has been curdling the last few days as I sorted out all these questions, but I think I'm converging, and I think it's going to be okay, and I can do all these things. So we'll see in a day or two what my beta test for you really looks like.
All right, now, so on to number 6, and there's nobody in the lobby. Number 6 is listening to call signs of DECs and ECs. She does that now. As soon as you send a report, it's added to the list. So there's no change there. Number 7, number of areas net sessions held. So sometimes our number is, or actually all the time, our number is skewed because just using Harris County as an example, looking at last month's reports, those numbers were pretty good as far as how many nets were reported by each one of the ECs. Most of you reported 5. Now, Russell Richter reported 9. And I have no idea what 9 nets he's talking about because we don't list that. If we have approximately on the Texas, the South Texas area, on the Texas Aries net on Monday night, we have between 65 and 90 folks that check in. Each one of those persons sent a report to their EC and claimed a net that they participated in. There would be between 65 and 90 reported nets just from that number. So if someone reports to Sean Ramsey that they participated in, more nets than just what Northwest does, because Northwest does a maximum of 4 per month. They have one every Sunday night. And on the 5th one, it's a countywide net, and that's where Sherwin would report his net. And all the other ECs should be doing the same thing. They have in Harris County, everybody has a net every, once a week. And then they throw in the hospital net. So who does the hospital net fall under? What group is that? That's really not.
I'm hearing 2 different numbers here, Jeff. I'm hearing net, and I'm hearing net participants.
Oh, that's another line.
I mean, there's 2 different numbers I'm hearing there.
Yes.
Yes.
So the number of net sessions held, and then further on down, number 9 talks about how many participants.
So if I am a member, so if I'm in the Southwest, Aries Southwest, right, and I attend a net, and then I attend the Texas HF Aries net weekly. In one, I'm a participant. Well, in both, I'm a participant. I think your point is we're probably double or triple or quadruple counting the Texas Aries net on HF, right? Because that should be one net.
Yes, and I actually think that I as the SEC, that usually runs about a half hour, and so I take the number of participants on the week that I'm net control, week number 3, and I multiply that times 4. If there's only 4 weeks, or 5 if there's a 5th Monday, and times a half hour, and that's how many hours that I report for the South Texas HF net. And actually, that net shouldn't come from me at all. That should come from Mark Morales.
Yeah, for the.
Well, that's what I'm thinking is if Russell, let's take Northwest. Northwest holds 4 to 5 nets a month. So that's what I would think, unless we have an extra net for some reason thrown in there, those are only the nets that Northwest is responsible for holding.
Right.
Now,
right.
me as DEC, I have to hold a wide area net once every 3 months, whatever it is.
Yes.
Okay, and then I've been also putting under the DEC the hospital net because it's like a wide area net for all the hospitals.
That's good.
So that's once a month. So that gives me, over a 3-month period, that would give me 5 nets.
That's correct.
But do you count the traffic net too, or?
Which the HF?
No, the VHF local traffic nets. Where are those put?
See, I think that's why Russell got to 9, because
Right.
Ron Bosch,
Who's holding that though? Is that the units?
Ron
That's
Bosch is in the South.
he's
Yeah,
a
so
second
if it's
manager.
units that are holding it, then it comes under the unit nets.
Yeah, we should not, a unit should not count that, the Texas HF net, and shouldn't count the traffic net either.
And
Well,
also
and I
I
think we
shouldn't
need
cut the
clear,
wide area net.
well, no, you should count the quite area net,
I
right?
do, but not
The
the
ECs
units.
don't.
Yeah,
Exactly,
the
exactly.
units don't.
So when I was EC, I figured that out, right? I didn't do that, but I did count the Texas Aries HF net because nobody else was counting it. And so that was one of mine. So nobody should put the HF net in, basically. It should be put once at the section level, right?
I agree. Scott, you had a comment?
Yeah, my question is, because like at Northeast, we track the Montgomery County because we have participants in Montgomery County, but we're not the ones that are actually holding that net. So we
Right.
shouldn't be counting that net,
Should
correct?
not be counting that net.
Okay.
And so
That's-
this discussion is exactly what why we had this big meeting, because everybody's got a little bit different opinion of a way that should go. Most of it leans the way that I feel. But you know, when we have, if most of the average Joe ham guy that may send a report to his EC, if he may include every little thing. Scott Reeves checks in the nets all the time. So when if he sends a report to Russell Richter, then he needs to not claim the daily Texas traffic net that he checks into, because that's should be claimed by somebody else.
Yep.
Well, it sounds like it should only be claimed by who's hosting it.
That's right.
Exactly.
And so we will we're going to have another meeting of this, but it's going to be the entire South Texas section leadership. So we're going to get all of our ducks in a row in this smaller gathering than before we go to the bigger picture and put it out there.
When people fill out the monthly report, there is an instruction link on that page, and I'm going to revise that to show your instructions. So I used as the baseline of that the ARL instructions as you laid out here, except for the things that don't apply to everybody's, because some of those questions are only for the Form 4. And I can annotate those and enhance those to say all these specific things that only count your net if you're the host, and all the various details for you specifically, how you want your ECs to treat the data. We can spell that out in the instructions that they will have, and they open that link and it's on a separate page while they're filling out the form. They can see both side by side and walk through it, especially as they're learning it. So as you really nail down all these details of how you want to explain it to your people, spell it out and I can put it in those instructions.
So let's talk a little bit about number. So we just discussed number 6. Let's discuss number and 7. So let's discuss number 8 a little bit. So if you have a net and one of the participants in your net is a regular participant in the traffic nets, then that net should count. In our current box, it's box number 7. Box number 6 is number of nets active. My last report is 117, and number 7, number of nets with NTS liaison, is 70, and that number is actually higher than that. And that's the number that they want to see. They want to see an NTS liaison at every net, basically what they'd like to see. So if you have anyone in your group that participates in that, then you should check that is yes, that you have that.
So NTS liaison is not an official title. It's just a participant, a regular participant. Thank you for clarifying. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah, but how are we going to know? That's my problem. As a newbie here, I'm not sure who's participating in the NTS net. It would be nice if we had it be NTS liaison for AEC position. I'm sorry. That sounds good. Yeah.
That's a good one.
If you ask that question, yep. And
It's a very
check
good
that-
idea.
Yep, good idea. Dang, Lee, you can
Hey.
go now.
Hey, guys,
Wayne Johnson, I think you had a question there. Go ahead.
I have a comment. Ron is actually naming an NTS in every unit in Harris County. I know. I don't know about the other units. He's actually naming them.
Yes, if Sherry shows up at your net, you're good. If he shows up at your net, you're good.
But if that named person doesn't show up on the net and another one shows up that is a participant,
Yep,
they would still be
good.
counted.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's better to ask every net because it's going to have to be flexible.
Because it's an informal thing. It's an informal participation thing.
So, Jimmy and Sean, do we agree that that needs to be added as one of the first questions when you start your net?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Just getting through that net sometimes where I'm located, it seems to be not able to reach it sometimes.
Okay.
I don't know why.
That's the joy of radio. Not being.
I monitor it, but I can't show that I was on it. And if I monitor it, would you consider that attending that net?
Is there anybody else if you didn't check in, probably not. But if you have somebody else in Northeast that participates in that net, and John Igo does, so you're good.
I'll be sure to I'll put out an email to anybody that participates to let me know so we can add those numbers.
All
I'll
right.
ask the script, Jimmy.
I'm sorry, Jimmy, I didn't mean to talk over you. So then another thing we have to do is the backup person is the one who sends in the net report weekly. They have to add that to that weekly report.
Yes. All right.
Well, that's easy, Sean. We can do that with is that Sean? I'm not sure. Walt, whoever is speaking. We can add on our spreadsheet, we could add an NTS checkbox or something.
All right. So that takes care of number 8. Good discussion there. Number 9, how are we going to come up with a number of participants in the nets? Already we are sending a report to the IO group for the Monday night HF nets. There's a good number on that. But how do we capture, I guess for Harris County, it's actually very easy to get that number because they all have a log. They all take a log. And I don't know if the other counties, how many of the other counties in South Texas actually keep a log let's ask Stuart. Does in any weekly net you have in your area, does somebody keep a log and submit it to the EC?
Right now, the one who does the logging is the EC, who is Mike, and he hosts the AriesNet every week. And he keeps a tally of who checks in on a weekly basis, but he only turns that number into the DEC once a month whenever he's doing his report. So
Okay.
there's no spot on there that says, well, you've got 5 for Monday and 5 for next Monday, but 4 on the Monday after that. It's just a tally of a total.
And a question that I had asked and got ignored on that is the number of participants in the nets. Do they want to know that you had, say, on a local net, 25 or 30 each week, and so that's 100 to 120? Or is it out of that 120 check-ins, is it 30 different call signs? I'm not sure what number they're wanting.
It gets worse than that, Jeff. What kind of participants? We have digital check-ins that don't do voice sometimes.
Right, and we have relays too.
Yeah.
Right. So I will ask for better clarification on that. But Judy will add in number 9 in the new reporting, and we'll expect the ECs to put a number in that. But we need a better definition on what number 9 is.
I think the most consistent way is unique check-ins. They're either voice or digital or relay, but you don't count anybody twice.
Right.
Per month or per week?
For every session.
Okay. For us, it's usually per week.
Yeah, because the way we look at it is if Jimmy checked in on voice, then he checked in on digital, that would be 2 separate check-ins, even though it was the same person.
We do.
Yeah,
because they're coming in different methods.
Yeah, I think that we want just the number of the call sign one time.
Got it.
regardless
So
of how many modes they checked in. And then the same time next week, you have a second net. And if you had the exact same number of people check in, does the number double or does the number stay the same?
Yeah, I think we ought to be, I think it's unique per session. I think what you said is right, but
Okay.
Well, you want the total number of people that checked in on each session by the end of the month for the month report, don't you? So if I had 28 people, 30 and then 31 and 15, you want that aggregate number on your monthly report, correct?
I believe so. But I need to get clarification from the league what they want.
The hours, of course, per man hour.
Yes.
yeah, because you're totaling the man hours, I think they want that aggregate number. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Because we're
Yeah.
reporting total aggregate hours. So if I check in 4 times, right, that's 2 hours on a 30 net. So I think it would be 4 for me. Yep. Okay.
That sounds reasonable, Walt. You cannot go yet.
I just made that up.
Okay. Number 10. So we are, that is no change from what it is now, except for the SEC and the ASEC other folks that we have in the reporting will now, their comments will be made under number 19. So all the ECs and the DECs will stay at number 10. And comments that Judy and I and Dallas Mellencamp and those and Stewart, if he were to submit a report, although he's exempt, then they would go at number 19. Everybody else in number 10. So that is actually no change.
I have a question on the comments. In the new work that I'm doing, I'm putting under administrative and other, number 19, I'm putting SEC, ASEC Web, and ASEC Other Me. But the other ASECs, I currently am showing in the activity, number 10. Do you want all the ASECs down in 19?
Yes, please.
Okay, I can do
And
that.
we get very few of those. So we get a report from you, a report from Tom, a report from Dallas, and a report
Right.
from me. And that's it.
Okay, so that number 10 is only DEC and EC.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So number 11 is exercises this month. So we need to do this. We need to do the same thing. I think that we need a better definition of exercises because they've broken this out. It used to say number of exercises and training. So now they split it up into 2. I don't know what the difference between exercises and training is. I think that they're the same to me.
Yep.
So
Web EOC comes to mind. I'm not sure how to classify that one.
That's training.
The training or the actual doing the once a month?
The monthly, the beginning of the month, the first Wednesday of the month, Web EOC exercise, I guess.
okay. Yeah, that one's very. Why they're separating them, I don't know.
I would think training is kind of one directional, and the EOC, the web EOC thing is a more of an exercise because people are practicing.
Yeah, that's it.
I guess.
I agree. See, we do the same thing we're not learning new information every month. We're doing the same thing over and over and over. So that first Wednesday is an exercise. But if I sit in Web EOC training and learn something new, that's what training is.
Okay, then what I would classify as training is like Earl or whoever we have, like from Northwest Net, we have a training section on the script. So we have 4 training sessions a month in Northwest.
Yes.
We always do something different.
So the weekly nets are training and not exercise. Gotcha.
No, well, I would count that session, that part of the net, as a training.
And it does, I believe, on when Judy does her total. You put in the number of net sessions that you have, and it adds it to the number of various operations at the very bottom of the report. Is that right, Judy?
No, tell me which numbers you're talking about again. Number of.
So we're talking about at the top of the report. It says the number of number of nets, number of areas active nets. So number 6 is actually added to the down there. There's a box somewhere that says number of areas operations this month.
Oh, that's the total. No,
Yeah.
I don't include that. I include for the, and by the way, that one, the total number of areas operations is it does have exercises, but it doesn't include the net sessions.
Oh,
So
okay.
it includes the exercises, training, public service, community service, emergency, Skywarn, meetings, unclassified. So the stuff you're going to put person hours in, that's what's going to go in the total number.
Okay.
So, and the net sessions does not do person hours. So those are just count fields.
See, under number 12, then I would include our training portion of the net.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
we're gonna,
they're all training nets, every one of them.
well, yeah, but they're yeah.
But he's saying,
all the units have a part of their net that's training oriented. I'm just asking.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think we ought to get credit for it.
I agree. So I guess it would. I really don't want to, make a stone wall in between exercises on the left and training on the right. Just as long as it gets reported, I really don't care which column it goes in. We'll let the EC decide which side that they want it to go on, but only report at one time. Is everybody agreed on that?
Yep.
Absolutely.
and then if there's a district-wide training, like WebEOC training for everybody, then that's what the DEC reports,
DEC
right?
should
Not
claim.
the EC.
Right.
We're getting ready to start doing that again.
I know. That's why I thought of it.
But we have right now we're doing WebEOC exercises once a month.
Yes.
So that's a given,
Yep.
So I think when I used to report that, what I would do is go and look at the total number of participants that was on the list, and then and add multiply it times like 0.2. So I gave them a login time and looking at other crap time. And so if we had 15 people check into WebEOC, then that was 15 times 0.2 in the number of hours, man hours for that.
I thought we got a half-hour credit for that.
Yeah, it takes more like a half hour to get through it.
But whatever. So whatever the number is, but each EC then would not do that, because I used to do that in my EC. I would go through the list and just for looking for Southwest people, and we should stop doing that. Okay.
Yes.
So who's going to report that exercise to WebEOC? Is it going to be the DEC?
Should be the DEC.
Because it's just like the wide area net, it's a district-wide thing.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll go into WebEOC and I'll try to count out the ones for that date. I'll go date sensitive. If it's on the 6th of the month, I'll only look at the ones turned in on the 6th under training.
Yep. Number 13. Number 13 and number 14. Number 13, that makes perfect sense to me, public service events. But then community service, to me, I think I wrote it in my notes, that just reeks of jail time. So I don't know. I really can't think of what a good difference between public service and community service is. I'm failing to separate the two.
I would say the same thing. Don't worry about it. Put it in one or the other and roll on.
Yep.
And then again, if it's a county-wide thing, then the DEC would do it, right?
Well, I see us getting a lot of number 14s, but a lot of 13s. I don't know if I want to go clean up Joey's van.
Yeah, 14 I have no use for, and number 13.
Look at their examples. 14's got the bike rides and the parades and Wings Over Houston.
Yeah.
Number 13 is the one where you're going in and you're helping clean up something like a communications van or something.
So So one is like communications related and the other one is just public service, anything related, right?
It's just a slave labor.
Slave labor related.
Wow.
Do we do any labor related thing? I mean, Sherwin and I will because we're now Joey's slaves. Okay. But the rest of you, I don't think are going to go do anything that's not communications related, right?
That's true. That's probably true.
I mean, I've been down there helping them with the warehouse and a few other things, before I became DEC. So there was a lot of stuff that I helped them with.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some people that will do that for hospitals or other EOCs. That would be reported to the EC though, I would assume, so.
Yeah, probably.
All right, moving to number 15, number of emergency events this month. And then number 16, Skywarn events. So everything that's in 16 should be included in, I don't know, should they? Should everything that's in 16 be included in 15? Because you can have a number of people in your class, 30. Number of people in your class that wore shoes is also 30. Does that mean there's 60? No. Number of people that wore socks, 15. That's part of the 30. Skywarn event, and it's talked about where there's actually an activated, it's not a training for it, the training would go someplace else. Where it says where a net was activated. But that's also an emergency, and so you can have 100 emergency events and say 5 for the South Texas. You could have, and they could be the same event. Hurricane Harvey could be reported multiple times by so many counties, and it's just one event. It's Hurricane Harvey. Or the big freeze that we had back in February, where there was a lot. Travis County had and Williamson County had a huge number of volunteer hours during that, and Harris County didn't do bad, but Williamson and Travis was crazy in the number of hours they put in, and so that. But I don't remember if they counted that as Skywarn or not. I think that I did because. On our current form, we do not have a separate box for Skywarn. That was something that they had added Form 4 back when it became a PDF.
Yeah.
Yes?
On number 16, I could see a Skywarn net being activated, but then nothing happens. We don't have a tornado. We don't have any damage or whatever.
Right.
Okay, so to me, if you have nothing happen, it's just straight Skywarn. But if you have something happen, then it goes over the category to number 15, where you start to report people hurt, people damage, everything else. That becomes an emergency event.
Okay.
I mean, I think you need to ask for clarification, but that's how I would interpret that.
Okay.
My question is, I don't always know when they activate Skywarn unless it's something new that I haven't seen in this position yet.
Yeah, you don't know. For Harris County, of course, Dave Finelli is the one that does the Skywarn nets, and he does not send out a notice that there's actually the net has been activated. At least I've never received anything.
So I've never seen anything from Skywarn. It's more of an event that you're reporting on. There's a hailstorm in Kingwood, so you report on that via Skywarn.
Right.
It's not necessarily an event that was an activation.
Well, if that one has damage or people hurt, I would move that one up as a number 15, an emergency event.
Yeah. And so I guess they're wanting on number 16 to limit it to Skywarn nets. Yeah, whether you actually had any damage going or not. If your local net, Skywarn net was activated, they want to know about it.
Can we get Dave Pinelli to tell us when he activates a net? Is there any way that he'll send us a report? Or do you have authority or whatever?
Yeah, all we have to do is ask him to do that. And he'll do it.
I think if he activates the net, he needs to tell us in what counties or what districts he activated.
Right. And he will, when he does his net, if they are activated when Monday night rolls around, for the HF net, he will we ask for traffic at the very beginning of the net, and he will say, this is what's going on in whatever region, and give us a report on that. And that's about the only thing that we get on the Monday night nets, except for checking in for the counts.
Yeah, but I'd hate to count on that because I have such poor reception 50% of the time. I don't think I'd hear it.
Right. But he does do that. And so emergency events, we'll put in a raw number for that. And then the sky warn, it needs to be a net activation, not just Scott was standing out in the yard and saw a tornado go by. Needs to be a net activation.
Hello.
All right, number of meetings this month, number 17. That's brand new, except for it was probably included under number 9 in the old form, exercises and training. And the number of meetings, I want to limit them to Aries related meetings, not TX meeting, not Echoes meeting, not BVARC's meeting, only Aries related meetings.
How about Aries involvement in CERT? We're having meetings now for CERT, getting ready for the CERT rodeo, but there's going to be Aries involvement in that.
To me, goes under, that's either training or public service.
Okay. Well, I didn't know how you wanted to specify meetings.
Yeah, and so that's really not, that CERT rodeo is really not a meeting. It's you're talking about the meetings that we're having right now online.
Yeah, the online meetings.
Yep, and our meetings are Aries related, so I would say that absolutely those count. And that needs to be the CERT rodeo needs to be probably at the district level, not at the EC level.
Yeah, because I've got 2 CERT meetings so far this week, plus 1 Aries meeting so far this week. This one counts.
Yep. Yep, those need to be, and the races meetings, to me, they don't count. Sorry. It says number of Aries meetings. It doesn't say races or React or anybody else. It says Aries. Number 18, I can't think of anything to put in that category. If you can, put something in there. It looks useless to me.
Well, one of the things that might fall in that was the distribution of what's the word I'm trying to say? PPE, yes.
Yeah.
That was something that we wanted to turn it into a training where we can have a pod and whatever, but we didn't have the time, so we just said, hey, come get it.
Yeah.
What about your time recruiting at Hamfest? Is that maybe that's a public service event?
Well, that's it. This VE session I went to tonight and a week ago, I've been doing Aries recruiting there, handing out pamphlets and trying to recruit people to join Aries.
Public service.
I'm not a VE yet. My credentials haven't shown up.
So the time spent as VE is not reported, but the time recruiting would be something, right?
Yeah, and my whole purpose for being there was to try to do some recruiting because, like I said, I don't have VE credentials yet. They haven't shown up yet.
Jeff, question.
Yes.
Sorry, we got to go back. We got to go way back.
Number 1,
We include travel time. You always said include travel time in all of this. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I don't think we talked about that, so I just thought about that.
And I had just thought about that right when you brought that up. Well,
you're smarter than me.
If we have a DEC meeting and you're going to drive down to Transtar, the DEC needs to add in travel time. And I think that what did I put, Walt? I think I put like an hour and a half per person. That's 45 minutes each way.
On average, well, that's true. People come from as far away as Katy, Jeff.
Yeah, yep. And could be good traffic, could be not so good traffic. So, yeah, we added an hour and a half. So if our meeting lasts an hour, that's 2.5 hours per person for the DEC meeting. Sherwin, are you under reporting?
No, probably. Just this VE event today, I've got 2 hours
Okay.
travel time, an hour there, an
Wait a
hour
minute.
back.
Sherwin has to go back and refile all his reports back to
Yeah.
2015.
If I do, you do.
Okay. No, I
Hey, Sherwin,
included
I can
travel.
add you to my report. I was there with you.
Seats in the bottom, guys. Seats in the bottom.
All right, and then we talked earlier about number 19. This is going to be a SEC and up. That only goes in this. And one thing that they have done that is a huge improvement is they used to be box number 17, which was the comments box, and it was a little bitty thing about this big, and you could scroll up and down, but you really couldn't read it. Well, now
That was
they
annoying.
have it going on. You can see in Lee's screen how big it blows up now. It blows up. It creates pages that are added to the first page of the report so that you can actually see the thing without scrolling or squinting your eyes. And I had started doing that. I started typing in C attachment because I got tired of that. I've been doing that same crappy way for however long I've been doing it, and I hated it. So I started doing an attachment. But now with the new form, it does the attachment on its own. Anything else?
Jeff,
Yes.
all these different categories, meetings, let's see, I'm trying to think, emergency events, community service, are we going to still report the hours and the man hours?
Yes.
Okay,
That's on there. That's in the
on the right.
that's in the column.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was still there. Because I'm going to take that spreadsheet that I got from you or Dave that I modified and expanded into these categories.
There's in box 11 through 18, there's a column on the right for person hours.
Hey, Jeff, is that you've already downloaded? Because I don't see that in my STX depot.
Oh,
my
no.
EC report.
No, Judy's working on that.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And I'll start working on my spreadsheet.
She's gonna make some changes to it anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, there's going to be quite a few changes on it'll be the monthly report plus its instructions will change. And then when Jeff goes and does his Form 4, it'll pull in all this different information, and other reports will have a little bit different information too because the fields have changed, but all that will accumulate. And the work is going pretty well, and I will probably get some screenshot examples for Jeff to look at over the next couple of days. And I may get something able to drop down to this week, late next week or middle and late next week.
I didn't think it had, but I was just getting worried. I said, crap, they're talking about this. Look at it. I'm saying, I don't see anything.
Yeah, right. It's out
All right,
there.
thank you, Miss Judy.
So, Judy, do you think that we would be safe to, because we still have to do a section-wide forum like this, probably next week. Stuart and Judy, are you good with maybe a week from today, maybe next Thursday, that we can be far enough along to have a similar meeting like this where it won't get out of control and
I'm fine with that.
But we won't go live until next month.
Okay, so you're not looking to have it. So the July report will be as is today.
Yes, and because I've already received 2 or 3 reports for
Right.
this month, even though it hasn't ended yet.
Right.
Good trick.
Well, they're just brown nosing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do something next week on Thursday if that
Okay.
that's what needs. Yeah, that would be good actually. Yeah, and
The first month we have to report on in the new format is going to be the month of August.
right. But I will drop the code probably in 2 weeks or something. I mean, we'll talk about it next week and I'll review it with Jeff and see if he's happy with all the formats and the content. And then I could drop it like the middle of the month, which will then be the time when people can go do their monthly reports to start queuing it up to feed into the report Jeff has to run at the end of the month or
And the
by the
date has
10th.
And the date has not changed. The data report has not changed.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, the data reporting is the same.
And just for clarification here, this is we're keeping all of the original fields that needed to be filled, but we're just adding the ones that needed to be filled for headquarters. Is that correct?
I think that's true.
She might change the wording. Of
Yeah,
a
they
couple.
changed the wording.
and redefine some of the categories.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, the
Right.
original fields that were there, we're not taking away anything. We're just adding.
No, there was one field on the original monthly report. It says what's the change from last month?
Right.
That's going away. That
Okay.
was not useful.
Well,
Ah.
the other one is they're going to take exercise and training and break it into two.
Right. Well, that's true. That's an addition.
But
That's
they're breaking it apart. They had them combined
Yes.
before.
it's a new line item. Yeah, it creates a new line item. And there's several of those because public service and community, emergency and Skywarn, and the meetings and unclassified, those are extra things. So that's that I think I've decoded what they would need to have as source material in order to feed the Form 4. So that's what I'm doing. And then Jeff will have to define all these little definitions of what to tell people to put in these numbers, and we can get that written into the instructions, and people can have their little cheat sheet for how to fill this
Gotta
out.
have a cheat sheet. Yep.
Well, I have a spreadsheet that I've been sending to Jeff that does all the totaling and everything and counting for me. And I'll expand it and send it to you guys if you're interested.
Well, I've got all this in code that does all that work.
This is just a spreadsheet, but it gives you a place to write down the name of the event, the number of people that participated, the number of man hours per person, and then it does everything else and puts it up in the totals.
Yeah, I've got that already coded. I actually have something like that already coded. So
Judy, do you remember Jerry Reimer?
I know the name, yes.
Okay, so he originally come up with this Excel spreadsheet back when he was the SEC.
Right.
And so I've been carrying it around. I give it to the people in Harris County all the time. That's
Right.
It was good enough for Jerry. And if you go look at the properties of the file, it says Reimer.
Yes, yes. You need a way to start your tally. If you're an EC doing a meeting, you've got to keep track. So obviously somebody's using their ticky sheet to do their weekly work.
Yeah. But that was originated by Jerry Reimer. I did not think of it. Somebody else did. All right. Is there anything else for this meeting? All right. Thank you very much. And you'll be getting an email from me probably over the weekend well, you may get a save the date tomorrow, but you'll get an email from me with a link to the meeting over the weekend, and we'll get the rest of the ECs. I'm just wondering how many, so if we had, not every EC is going to show up. We have 11 in this meeting, and I think there were 14 intended. So we had 15% that didn't show up. So if we have a 15, it'll be a higher throughout the section. It'll be a higher not attending. But if everybody showed up and they brought an AEC with them, we could have 100. But I think that we need to have an AEC. Stuart, what do you think about that?
No, I think that's a good idea. One other recommendation I would make is since they recently created that new MCOM committee at headquarters. We're lucky enough in West Gulf to have 2 members on that committee, and one of them is our vice director and the other one is the director. I would suggest at least asking Lee if he would want to show up for next week.
Okay.
I've got my AEC on board with us now, Scott DeMasi.
Yes. All right. I think that's all we have. So thank you very much. Nice, crisp meeting. Good ideas. And I think it's a good deal. And Judy, are you good for next week now? You figured out what you did wrong?
I think, next week Tom has his club meet, has his Aries Williamson County club meeting. So he'll be doing something else on Zoom. And so I'll come here and he'll go to the Zoom meeting. So that will be fine.
All right. So I'll talk to everyone later. Thank you very much. Good meeting.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
All right.